Today is Thursday because it's Technology Drop-In Thursday. Trevor Beck here. Not a lot happening this week, but hopefully that someone will have a challenge that they want to throw out to the group to share, and then we can talk about that. But otherwise, there are a couple things. And I think we talked it's funny, we talked last week about, or week before, I think, where Google is now enforcing two-factor authentication. So of course, the first thing that happened is my mom called up and said, "What does this mean?" That's like, no, it's okay. I took care of it. You don't have to worry about anything. But if you also have, some non-techie people that you're supporting, you may want to reach out again, because I think they're turning that on this week or next week is mandatory. So you want to make sure you have that all in place so that they're not confused and that they don't get all strung out. So not a lot this week, but some of them are kind of fun. The first thing I want to talk about is a course outline process. If you've been following along in the chat, back in the early part of the fall, I asked, what are 3 kind of projects you'd like to work on and find a solution? And course outlines was one of them. So I put a post in there on some of the progress where I've been. I've kind of had a chance to play around and find out some this and that. Basically, the link there will take you to the chat. There's a video there demonstrating it. The way it kind of works is that I have a main document here, and I have another document. So let's say this is the course 101. It's got all the course information there. Then there's the program university information about grades and policies and stuff like that. And rather than doing copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste for each course, that section actually points to a single file. So I could have 100 courses. They all point to that single file. And I can just go update here and then just kind of do a resync, just like we do with the table of contents a lot of times. And it'll just pull in that data. So it makes it really easy to ensure that you've got consistent information all throughout the document. So whether you're using course outlines or not, if there's, you have a document that repeats itself in a number of different places or a number of different documents, really recommend you take a look at that technology. And, we're going to keep working on this and hopefully, have something that people can use down the road that will save them some time. But if nothing else, you're going to learn about the fact that you can sync files to Microsoft Word by just doing an embed link kind of thing and just hit sync, and whatever changes are there gets updated automatically. That was more important back before Office 365, when there was no way to work on a single document and have a bunch of people working on it in live time. So it is an older piece of technology, and whether Microsoft continues to support it through the web and all that, we'll see. But it's definitely something that there are situations where it is useful. So I recommend you take a look at that. New functionality I just noticed the other day on Google Docs on how to compare docs. This is also something that's been available in Microsoft Word for probably 20, 25 years. And this is great when you have a document, and back in the day, you'd send out copies of the document. Everyone would make their changes, send it back to you. Some people would go and open it up and do track changes and go, well, okay, there's a change. I'll copy and paste that, or copy paste that. But there is a compare tool available in both Microsoft and Google now. So here's how it works. I have this file here, electronic 1. So I've gone in there and made some changes. Someone else, unbeknownst to me, made a copy and made their own changes. So we have electronic 2. I have no idea what changes they've made. So what you can do is I go to my first document, which is my master, and under Tools, I can select Compare Documents. And it's basically kind of like track changes. And in the end, what happens is you go and say, okay, compare to which document. So I'm going to compare it to number 2 here. I'll just go through real quick. I'll find the document I'm looking for. Here, I just type in the word electronic 2, because that's what I'm working on. So there's the second one. I click on that, and then I would open it and compare it. And then it creates a third document. So here's this third document that I end up with. Notice it's basically like track changes. So it uses my copy, or whatever I started this process in, as kind of the baseline. And then after that, I can go and check out where the changes were made. So for example, determine instead of decided. In the second version, that was switched around there. I'm not sure what this drawing stuff is all about, but here I can see, whoops, come back here. I can see chit chat instead of communication. And just like any other document where I have someone suggested changes, I can go in and I can accept those changes. Or I can do a follow. Can I do follow-up? Yeah, I can do follow-up questions and stuff like that. So it does create a third document, but the nice thing about it is, let's say there were 5 documents, I could compare them one after the other. And it's not the same as using track changes. It's not going through one at a time trying to find the change. It just does a comparison, and I can go yes, no, and accept all those changes. So if you still deal again, this is another piece of technology before using Office 365 where we could collaborate on a single document. But if you are still sending out documents to the group and having multiple documents come back, you can use the compare function in both Microsoft and, as you can see here, in Google. Gmail has this great tool. I found this in other apps. They finally made it available in Gmail regular. So if you're on your student account, for the students that are watching, or if on your personal account, I used to have to go through and you would do a find Laura, and I want to get rid of all of her stuff. So I would type in find Laura, and then it would show me, and then I could delete all of her stuff. There's now a functionality that if you right click on here, down at the bottom, find emails from whoever it is, whatever one that you've highlighted there. So now I can go through here, and it's like a filter. There's all of the stuff from Laura. I can quickly go through, read what I want, or in this case, I'm just not interested. I can delete it all. So as someone whose inbox is huge, and because I don't do enough cleaning up, I can quickly go through here, just find all these booking test stuff, get rid of that, and clean up my inbox quite quickly. That today is the short of it. I really don't have anything else to share. Any questions or anything that anyone else wants to share?
No, that cleaning out your email by using that right click and finding everybody, that is super helpful.
Good. Well, there's that thing. Now Teams has given me 2 different windows. Good. Yeah, I use that. I've actually used other apps that have had that built in, but it's nice that it's built into Gmail now. Hopefully, it won't be long before they build that right into the desktop app, or sorry, the mobile app. That would be kind of fun. Anybody have anything else they want to ask about? Challenges they want me to track? Carrie, your hand's up. Just come off mute and talk.
Okay, I just didn't want to interrupt everybody. I actually just finished going through the webinar that I signed up for last month when I was super busy. Strategies for effective document management in MS 365. So the nice thing is they send you the webinar link. So I was gone on holidays, signed up for the webinar, and then this month I made time and actually sat through the webinar, most of it anyway so far. And I had a question. They were talking, of course, about Omnia, I think it's called, and SharePoint. And then they were talking about using Teams and SharePoint like they were different. But we actually don't we use SharePoint and Teams similarly here? Like you can actually have files that are hooked together and they're shared through Teams, but they're actually stored in SharePoint, aren't they, at McEwen? And that's the question I had, because I'm thinking we're set up different.
Well, it's actually, yeah, sure. No, it's actually not even a McEwen thing. That is the way that SharePoint works with Teams works. So here, I'm just going to pull this up. So anytime that you want to upload a file and share it with this group, let me back up. Anytime you want to share a file with a group, it's got to be in the cloud, okay? Because I can't just share it from my desktop, because of course, if I turn my computer off, then you'd have no access to it. So when you're sharing a file in a chat, whether it's a personal chat or in Teams, you're sharing it in Microsoft land. If you're using it chat, you're sharing it in OneDrive. Which means that you are the owner of the file, and if you're in a group conversation and I upload it, I keep ownership of it. So it's very much different. When you get to Teams, because the team is the owner of everything, the files become owned by the team. So it's not Trevor's file, it's the team's file. Just like, and I'll go back to the Euler example. Someone puts something against the Oilers, it's not necessarily a document for this person. The document is for the Oilers. That person just happens to be the person responsible for addressing that file. Okay, so when you look here under the files here, you're going to see it says document and then general. Well, this is actually a location in SharePoint. So you'll see it says open in SharePoint. So I will show you this. I'm going to my website, and there is a documents folder inside the site contents. Now I've removed it from the side there. Normally it shows up as the word documents, but if I go into site contents, there's documents, and in there is all these different folders. Each of these folders associated with a channel. So here, whoops, let's go back here. Here, I'm in the general channel. Notice I also have Apple, Automation, Cascade, but they're all of them are inside the Documents folder. When I go and look here, it's the same thing. So there's Documents, there's Apple, Automation, there's General. This basically is the same thing. This is where it actually lives. This is just a window to that place. So here you can see conference recordings, DNR. I got them all there. From here or from the website, I can go in, I can create a new folder, call it test. Okay, test, it doesn't matter, it's going to be deleted soon. And it's there, it's there. And I'm just going to do a quick read.
You have to terse the process, right?
Is it a process? I don't know. So there's a folder there again. It's the same thing. This here is just a window into there. It's just, all they've done is they've taken out the left-hand menu and the stuff at the top. So you're focusing directly on there. And that's one of the cool things about where we get this set up is now I can go in and in Teams, I can add those folders and stuff up top here. So for example, this home page here, under SharePoint or here, this is where all the news come in. This is like the main landing page for everyone, right? So there's our handy links, application services, training, and then my links to my videos and that. Well, I created this up in our tab, and you guys can see this at the top of the channel. If I go to Tech Tip News, it's basically going to go to, which page do I have it set up? That main page. It's the same stuff. Might be laid out a little bit different depending on your screen and resolution and that. But it's the same thing. There's the tech news, the links, the application status, the training sessions, the videos. It's all the same. So it's just a quick way that you can use this team and this channel as a landing page or as a mini portal. So you can program and put up a whole whack of stuff up here. But in the end, to make those edits, you really are editing over here, just a different way. Does that kind of make sense then and answer your question?
Yes, yes, it does. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Did you pay for that session, or was it a freebie?
That was a freebie. They are trying to sell you while you're doing it the Omnia, which is their document organization software. So there's a lot of that.
Oh, okay.
But I actually took like 2 pages worth of notes on the theory that they've got behind on how they organize their documents. Because
I remember I posted that, didn't I not?
Yeah. And
okay.
And so, yeah, I'm kind of going to the theory behind it and looking at everything that we have in our SharePoint, looking at how we could reorganize it, but trying to put some thought into the process behind going, okay, don't just think of it as a user. Don't just think of it as an author. Think of it as an administrator and a solution owner kind of thing. So trying to actually organize it so that no matter who comes at our files later on, it's going to make sense to somebody why we did it this way. Right now, it doesn't really have that sense happening 100%.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've watched any other videos and stuff, but one of there's a session that I did called Microsoft Teams and SharePoint, and one of the big things about that is with SharePoint you can add that metadata columns. So I don't know if you're familiar with that. We've talked about in the past, but so for example under conference recordings here, actually what the heck am I working on right now? Give me a second because I have actually that outline that I was working on. Nope, it's not there. I'll have to come back. So, but again, here's an example of these are all the files, but I can add different columns of information in here. Whoops, go back. So conference, what is the actual conference it belongs to? Who's the presenter? What are the topics? And then I have different views that I can create here. It's same documents, it's just different views. So there is the Atlassian team conference, and there's all the views for it. I can add a status column, which is what I typically do on projects that I work on, that I can quickly set the status. And the beauty of it is that anyone coming in here can see it. It uses a lot of the same technology that Microsoft Lists has, but it's at the file level, not within a list. So that means that you've got all sorts of different controls that you can throw in here, different ways of filtering it. And eventually, if you get up with automation, as I change the status of something, then it could automate it. So one of the things that I'm looking at for this course outline is if I change the status to, I can't remember what's, let's say out for or sent to faculty. Let me just see where I put that in here. I think this is the place I did, is it not? And come on. Come on. Wow, things are slow. So here I've got like a status. I also, and this isn't the one I'm working on a different one, but I got a status in here. I also have a faculty member. So what happened is I would go make my changes. When it's ready for the faculty member to go and review it, I would change the status to something ready for review. Ideally, I'm hoping that we'll have an automation in place that will then say, okay, I am now going to take this and I am going to send a link to this document to whoever's name is in there, with the message that says, please review it by the deadline date, which would be another column, and change the status to sent to faculty member. And then that way people can track stuff, but at the same time, there's all that hand holding automation stuff can be put in play to get rid of all the mundane stuff of emailing attachments and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, if you want to chat more about, you know, what columns and stuff you're doing with your drive, that'd be a great way to start. Because again, like you said, you don't want to get too far down the path and then go, oh, we should have done it this way.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do is rebuild it going forward so that it functionally is there. And, you know,
Right.
you have some that are more policy driven, more legislated. And then you have like your other types of documents that are like, oh, these are transitional and they won't be around and we don't even have to worry about metadata. But, you know, having some automation behind it would be beautiful because I don't want to make a lot of extra work either for everybody. So.
Well, and the nice thing too is there's a script available already that you can go and change the status, and then ideally it would take those ones you don't need around and throw them into a whole different folder, right?
Nice.
Like, I'm done with this. I don't need it in my face. Send it off. So you just change the status once a day, twice a day, whatever you set up in the automation. It'll send it all off. I'm going to throw in a link here that I have on the site here on getting started with SharePoint and sites. And there we go. And so that will take you to this thing here. Watch the video on document libraries. That's going to explain what other things you can do. And then there's the in Stream. Give me a second. Stream. What was it called? Come on, Joe. There's only so many SharePoint sites. SharePoint. And then there's this link that goes and talks about SharePoint sites and Microsoft Teams. And it'll talk and show you some of the stuff that I've done in the past using that same kind of logic and that of building those document libraries with those different columns.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Not a problem. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording then, and then we can chat about whatever you want.